won't forget but Paul and I started the president. Yeah. And then recognize all the magistrates in the house. Some are my classmates. And some are not. But I deeply recognize all of them. And I thank you so much that you came out today. I pray that I will say something useful. That I recognize all my colleagues who are here, all the lawyers who are here. So it takes that's how this business works. And hopefully, by the time we finish today, we will change our approach from looking at things from, let's say, legal perspective, law perspective, to evidence and facts-based perspective. One of the mistakes would be they see that of them. Let's say you want to move forward. is an authority in legal act, and we would say the law follows the facts, not the other way around. Facts of law is when you establish that the law encompasses in the course of this training, review one case that has generated a lot of interest in Nigeria. It's not a Nigerian case, but it involves in Nigeria. How many people have read that case involving Oseko in the UK? You know the most interesting thing about that case? Not just about three authorities, maybe two. It's about 42 or 43 pages. You don't see one legal authority cited until maybe the 34th or the 15th page. That's the judgment. Isn't that interesting? It's interesting. And why that case has generated a lot of interest for me beyond the case. It's the simplicity with which that judgment was written. A masterclass on writing, even more study like this. We need to move away from the legalistic approach to the simple approach. And you know, part of the problems we face most times when it comes to writing is that we conjure up so many things in our head. And then it becomes a problem. What do we put down? How do we put it down? And in that struggle, that confusion, most people decide not to write. I can give this lecture about writing brothers. Thesis. Need at least 100,000. So I've done the PhD thesis, I've done a lot of here, I've done a lot of cases at the trial court. So I have written a lot. But I can tell you this. If that it is always going to be easy, if you know that writing isn't easy, then you will come up with a methodology for writing. And so when you read with this monster, you will know how to deal with it. Because most people, once they jump into it, it's really difficult, they abandon it and wrong because they never prepare for that difficult. So, what we must realize is that the world has moved on from knowledge based to skills based. So in the past, it was how much does this fellow know? I'm going to accord him respect according to how much he knows. These days, it's what can this what can he produce? That's why China is having all the respect in the world. Because China is producing. Why are we having? We are looking at things from a theoretical aspect rather than practical aspect. So we need to ask ourselves the question. Well, I ask myself those questions. You need to ask yourself the question. What skills do you need to succeed as a lawyer? Have you ever asked yourself that question? So I'm putting the question to you now. Have you ever asked yourself that? What skills do I need to succeed in this profession? If you haven't, it's okay, because 90% of us, or people, or lawyers, even other professionals, find themselves in that very boat. When we were going to the university, I guess all you needed was, or all you told yourself was, I need to graduate. You finished school, you went to the law school, you told yourself, I must become a lawyer. You became a lawyer. What questions did you ask yourself after you became a lawyer? I'm sure very little questions. What targets did you set for yourself after you became a lawyer? Very little. For me, after I became a lawyer, I didn't have a lot of time. I had to do a master's. So I rushed did a master's. I had to do a PhD. I did a PhD. I had to become a senior advocate. So I became a senior advocate. Now, there's nothing left for me to do. And that's the reality of life. It was easy because, yes, someone has set the masters for me. So I would run there. They had set the PhD. I would go. There's a rank of senior advocates. I would go for that. What happens after that? Now, you would realize that for those who did not set objectives for themselves, it's just been a question of waking up every single morning and going through the grind. Just the way I'm going through the grind now, because I need to look for something. I need to look for something, challenge me, go for it. But that's the reality of everybody's life. But what I want to tell you is that beyond going through the grind, individually, you could start setting goals for yourself. You could wake up and say, I'm struggling with advocacy. I need to become a better advocate. What skills or what do I need to become a better advocate? And then you go on that path. But let's tell you where the problem lies. So, find that I let me tell you how even the first step to self-improvement. Anybody has that guess? What's the first step in that journey? Improvement. Yes, please. On the mind is remains the biggest stumbling block to yourself development. Knowing that you don't know. So in the slide I prepared, you're supposed to move. So most people believe that the first step is taking a step towards improvement. But no, the first step is this: assessing your skills level. So if you have a pen and paper, just use 1 minute exercise. In terms of the job or the work, you write out 5 skills you believe you possess. Just 1 minute. Have 5 skills you think you possess. So is it advocacy? Is it writing? Is it computer skills? Just write it out.
I need something from here.
Are we done? Okay. Now, let's say that we need a so on the other side of where you're putting the skills. Can you write out the evidence for why you believe you possess? Like concrete factual evidence. Now, all those skills you're bringing, bring yourself. One, Let's ask ourselves, when we were asked to evidence, let's say, what evidence do you have? You change your perspective on those skills that you have. Did anybody have that problem? So when I say, let's say I had communication skills, I said, give me the evidence of the fact that you have evidence. What evidence do I have? And I have good communication skills. I started saying, well, I feel very well. People understand me. You know, that means I'm struggling. It is a self-ablation of myself, which is mostly, yes, I want to offer myself. So, and the skills I have. Well, so, when you did this now, did you realize that there were cases where you felt you were skilled, but you felt that if you don't feel that way, then there's a problem. It takes us back to the first thing we say, that the biggest problem with any I don't know. I make a he knows that he doesn't know how to drive.
No. No.
You are no. So this. And that is why we are here today. That is why this session is very important, because you are not supposed to tell me the truth. You're supposed to tell yourself the truth. And that is the most important thing. That is why you want to explain. Our five skills that you would like to have. The guy wants to buy it. Oh, I can't tell. Are we there? You see me now? Now, you know this, I would say, as a
Show us again.
this is what it has
Money.
All that we read.
Money.
All I think is in your general inspection, what do you need to have? The next step is also, I throw it back to you. Since you have identified the skills that you need to have, What steps do you need to take to achieve these skills? Now, I'm not going to tell you because this is problem solving, personal problem solving. I'm going to guide you. And there's what they call smart rules. So if you look at the heading, it says, when planning, what can help you achieve your goal? And whatever you are using to achieve this goal has to be specific. So I would say, well, to achieve this goal, the training, nice like NBA. I'm going to start attending them. Or I would identify an individual that will help me achieve these goals. But the most important thing also is that how stretching is it? Because for you to learn, it must be something that takes you out of the comfort zone. It's not something you do from the couch. We now go of chat GPT. How many people have used that right there? I bet you that, and you were very serious. I was like, look, I'm going to help you because I'm using this AI and this AI tools don't fail. And use that easily. Says in when they give me assignments, and the next morning, I have delivered. I have delivered. I say, oh, well, there's an AI tool. I wasn't convinced. I'm still not convinced. Because when low pavilion came, I tried this. It's convenient. But it doesn't help me the way I want to be helped. Because when I pick up the index, and I'm going through the index, I'm seeing so many cases that are related to other things I'm doing. So I'm rushing, picking up more reports, reading those ones. But the problem becomes keeping me disciplined. Look for what I really want. And that is how my legal knowledge is developing and my legal skills. So when we engage in things that don't stretch us, we hardly improve. Makes life easier, but it doesn't make you an advocate. Now, is it measurable and motivating? Is it achievable? Is it relevant? Is it time specific? So I would say I need better communication skills. And I leave it till I think of wrong. I will say to myself, in the next 6 months, this is what I would have achieved. So for those who are just getting into practice and they are struggling, well, we are not too sure of ourselves, what we want to do. I tell them, it's very easy. Tell yourself that before the end of the month, you will pick up a file, you will go to court, you will move a motion. And that's specific. And if you succeed in moving that motion, then you know you have taken steps towards achieving that goal. And it happens all levels. If you want to become a senior advocate, tell yourself, I need this specific number of cases. Before the end of this year, I would have argued at least 5 cases in court. The next time, when you're supposed to go and drink stout or eat bush meat, say, no, I have 5 cases. So I won't do it. And to start working towards that. And then evidence based, which is at the time, so if you know, say, I want to improve my advocacy skills and never do. When you have gone or to move a motion, do something a couple of times, you will then realize that you have evidence back up these skills you have. Am I making sense? Yeah. So don't ever do anything that you don't have any evidence. All you can do is, well, I'm really good at this. So next time I ask you, do you know how to use the computer? You have moved from one finger to at least 5 fingers. Okay, well, what? So, when we are working towards this, very important questions you need to ask yourself is, what do I intend to do? If I do this, what goal will it lead to? And what is the ultimate result? What we don't realize is this. So we keep looking at the big picture. This is what I want to be. But you don't become that thing you want to be by magic. Then we believe that it all needs to happen at once. For instance, let's say, I'll use myself as an example. For me to make it to the rank of senior advocate, I don't, it's not a question of being a big lawyer. My little story is this. There's lots of files had in one comment. And we put a witness here. All we see that those files. If you're interested to get detailed, find those files. They have absolutely nothing. No one can say absolutely nothing. No one can mean. No money. No money. And the most painful aspect in some of them was that there were cases that nobody went to court for those cases. So some judgment had been given. So where do you stand? Pick up the facts. And then, in a lot of the cases, the client or the defendant did not even have any defense. So, why they have been abandoned is because people looked at them and said, these are bad cases. Which of you? I won 99.9% of those cases. I'm not boasting. I won 99.9% of those cases. Because when I pick up in this, one of them from my Bible, judgment at the beginning. So I painstakingly went through the record of proceedings. I found breach of fair dealing. I went to court and found breach of fair dealing. So the very first case I did here at the Court of Appeal now, and that's what then attracted people now. I met my brother that is in Safari. Yes, I met him before that day. Like, so for 3 years I've been trying to get my appeals everything. So she started to know. Said, come back next month. It's not fast yet. If I put that, it give me 2 years. So I said, this is where I would live and die. So if you look at most of the cases I use to become a senior advocate, none of them came from Court of Appeal. Because in Abuja, I filed since 2012, maybe I have like 7 cases. Only 2 have been heard. So when you feel there is nothing, there are lots of things there for you. So I got judgment here. I went back to the High Court. Now have the chance to provide our evidence because which of very hearing has to be a big trial. One is what I discovered in a lot of cases was that the client had, because he had, let me not say he had not been properly advised, but because the lawyer did not know how to elicit facts and evidence of the client felt that he had no defense to the claim. And there's a particular case. I went to the accounts department. The accounts department said they were indebted to payments. I went to the project manager. Project manager said they were not indebted to payments. Inside the same office, I was getting the opinions. So I said, well, for you to succeed in your claim, what do you need? Let's say, how do you need for a debt? What's the primary thing I must do? I must do that I have provided consideration. Not so. I can't just like some person who are owing me. And this is what happens with a lot of people. The right letters to them, to big organizations, you are owing us. They never bother to line by line check if they are truly owing this you. Now, don't discount the corruption that exists in the system. Because in this organization, what were they doing? The supplier will find somebody in the accounts department and will say, write that your payments. Once you write that, I'll take the claim to court. I will get judgment and we will share the proceeds. And it was happening. So I take my approach as something. If you actually supply this and the account department is writing a job, bring your invoice, bring your delivery funds. Because if you supply an item, then somebody must sign somewhere that you receive this item. And that you receive a particular item you're claiming for. And that's where the problem started. So you could see that if I was not diligent enough, and if I did not persevere, my client would have paid that money. But the one I showed of this for people is that all those cases are true. Knowing that there was no money in those cases, one, the majority of the cases I used to apply for the rent. So, the first approach in life, not to becoming a senior advocate, in succeeding, is that you must look beyond the money. You must look towards acquiring the skills that you need to succeed. So if you wake up each day, and what you're saying is, well, I need to make money. I know we have challenges. I know we have lots of challenges. But the truth is, people don't pay you because you are individual. Life doesn't pay you because you are thinking. It pays you because you are what? Skilled. That's why you would see particular times to drift towards a particular influence. Because he's skilled. Go and read or speak to those people. Get their history. They will always tell you started with absolutely nothing. We took on these cases because we just needed something. And how the case pays you is that it doesn't pay you with money. It pays you the skills you need. So now, if I walk into any corporate organization, and they bring their case file to me, they say, oh, well, we have been sued in this matter. They say, we don't know. That's usually the case because who is going to resolve it? The chief executive. The chief executive does not know what happens to the case. The accountant works separately, project manager works separately, quantity surveyor works separately. So in most cases, people will be praised. So now I have the skills. Now I can advise you. But I got the skills, it may absolutely not. Now, so when you decide to go on this journey, you need to give yourself boundaries. So the saying I say, aim for the stars. If you don't get the way well, you won't. That's how it should be. Because this is the best case. If I don't get it, at least this is where I will be. And from the moon now, it's easier for me to get to the stars, not to. Yes, because at least you have left ground zero. So what I'm saying is you must take the steps. You must make a move. So I think we've gone through this. What we haven't done is let's use another means. Identify the skill or the skills that need the most. And then the thing about this is that's number 3 here. Set strategy and plans. When you identify those skills, just next to it, write a plan. How do you plan to achieve? Just come up with a plan. It doesn't have to be the best plan. Just what you believe in. So, when you come with that, this is the perspective and the approach you need to take. Know that this journey is moving from incompetent to be competent. That's the journey. Realize that you are incompetent in those areas that you have identified. And this is how it works. So, if you look to the left, what does it say? Unconsciously incompetent. Because you don't know, and you don't know. You believe you know. Now, if we are taking this journey, We are supposed to move from left to right, which is unconsciously incompetent. Can you see the wall there? That wall there is your consciousness, level of your consciousness. As long as you don't know that you don't know, you're always going to travel in that straight line. You're going to try to go through a brick wall, and you won't be able to go through that brick wall. In fact, it will injure you because you will lose confidence in yourself in the process. So, how we need to travel is rather than going through the brick wall, we have to jump to where? Being consciously incompetent. So nobody ever realized that a skill to have is the fact that you're consciously incompetent. That's a skill. And when we move from consciously unconsciously incompetent, we move to consciously incompetent. And then we are able to travel now in that straight line. And where does it lead us to? Become consciously competent. Applying all the things we discussed before, which is setting those goals, taking steps to achieve those goals, and moving towards that competence. And by the time, so most times they bring a process of it. And in 5 minutes, I'm done with drafting the process. Most times it takes my junior colleagues weeks, months, and it's only working. It's 5 minutes because I've gone through that journey before. So I have become unconsciously competent. It's not like when you learn driving. At first, you watch the steering wheel. You are scared. You're looking everywhere. When you become good at driving, what do? You start taking out your phone to play for respond to what's happening. Am I wrong? No. But you know the problem. It would never leave you in life. You know, like they say, Liverpool, never walk alone.
They walk together. They walk together.
This people will follow you every step of your life. And like we say in Fiji, don't have a belly for that brick wall. You know why? That is what will keep you forward. Because immediately you realize that you have mastered something. The world is evolving day by day. So you need to change. I will end this particular one by giving you a story. It's an interesting story. For those of you who are familiar with how my father set up his office, in 80s to the 90s, we know there was one very dexterous typist called Uncle Sam. How many of you remember Uncle Sam? Yes. I drafted processes as a lawyer. I took to Uncle Sam type. Uncle Sam is not a lawyer. Uncle Sam corrected my brother. Right. What- what- And he corrected him. He used to call it knocking. This is how his hands were. He doesn't do. Yeah, and he also, the problem Uncle Sam had was that he only knew how to use the manual typewriter. That was the problem. So, as long as we were using the manual typewriter, Uncle Sam was gone. Then one day somebody walks into my father's office and said, look, you try it. And my father is that type of person that likes my new technology. So he bought it. The problem was that Uncle Sam didn't know how to use it. And because Uncle Sam saw no the manual typewriter, he refused to learn. And then about my quick. So it is at this stage that Manzi Agu walks in. Manzi Agu had just struggled, maybe school sex. He didn't know a lot of the legal jargons, he didn't know correct grammar. But he knew how to use a computer.
Yes.
So the Sam looked at him and said, oh, want to take over my position. And my dad had no problem. He didn't know how to type fast. So to survive, he needed to learn how to type fast. And he needed to learn the legal jargon. My dad used to cry. He would tell me a story himself. That when he typed and he made so many errors, because the lawyers were used to how efficient of example. When he typed and made those errors, what would happen? They would have used it. So he would go to work on it and cry. But you know what? He just cried. No, that I was learning. So he started learning. You know what happened with Uncle Sam? He swore that he would never learn. So the more Martian learned, the more people started drifting to me. They said, okay, at least when we make mistakes, we are going to have to already. It's faster. And then, so Martian started getting problems. And Uncle Sam started being shifted. And before we knew it, Martian became the king or the lord of the man. The story doesn't end there. Because one morning, I walk into the office and I see my father. Just like the woman said, with one finger. He's struggling, struggling. After 6 months, he did not meet Master again. Because he could type by himself. So, after a while, what happened to Master? He went to the law school, registered, and was called this year. This theory is very disruptive. If you don't evolve, you will become irrelevant and die. So don't ever put yourself in that position where you say, I know it all. As lawyers, as judges, And as individuals, we must seek to improve our skills daily. I remember walking into a court, and I finished the proceedings, and they got the judgment in less than 3 weeks. So this particular judge was very hardworking, very, extremely hardworking. So I put on judgment, and he reads his judgment and his what is written and all of that. So that proceedings. Told him, when we this paper, I said, well, look, I think we're going for this judgment. But I also came to tell you that you're going to kill yourself. What happened to you using information technology like the computer to write your document and reading it out and reading it in a way that does not disturb your life? But you know the most important thing. This is important and very similar. The application of the law is also very similar. So if I have now a decided authority, why do I need to, every time I'm writing a judgment, to use my hand to write out? I don't need to. I simply need to go and copy that whole thing. First thing. Second thing, which is what we are going to go into when we get to the writing aspect. Everything has a structure. If I have a template, why don't I just read that template and put it in front of me? And what then needs to change would be facts, parties, and a couple of things here and there. But what's important is that at least I have done the quarter of the job with the template in front of me. And that is the evolution I urge upon every single individual. You must evolve or you will become irrelevant. So before we move to the next session, I'm just going to ask for opinions or comments from anybody who is interested. Is anybody interested in making a comment or an opinion or asking questions? Now, I would like to speak on advocacy skills. I think I want to a lot of those things in the course of this discussion. But I know that a few things that I would like us to discuss. What do you believe is the foundation of advocacy? It's the very foundation of advocacy. Is it your ability to speak very well? And this is the conclusion I reached. Advocacy is built on one principal foundation. And that is respect. No matter how well you speak, if you don't respect people, nobody is ready to listen to you. Because you have your upset emotion. And once nobody is listening, once they are upset. And I always say, for every lawyer, you must respect the court. If you're before a magistrate, show the highest respect to that mindset. In that court and outside the court. Not only in that court and outside the court. My comments who are very I can't go to court and disrespect them. Even those who are junior to me that are magistrates, I can't go to court and disrespect them. I must protect that institution. And then in this profession, you must always respect your seniors. When I met my principal, he said, when I was studying, he was surprised. I rushed and collected his bag. He said, no. I said, no, I must carry your bag. When I saw Chief Donald Egba 2 weeks ago, when we were on the same flight, I went and collected his bag. I carried that bag until we went inside the aircraft and I collected it back. That is how I was trained. That is what the legal profession demands of me. Let me tell you, the only person who will not allow you to carry his bag is my partner. He will tell you that if you start carrying his bag, very soon you will carry him. Every time you meet your senior, please. Carry their bag. Do something. You must respect your colleagues. You must also respect your juniors. Respect the client. Respect the client of the opposing party. The second thing regarding advocacy is this. It is built on hard work, knowledge, and perseverance. Most times people don't understand what it takes. Write a brief for a final address and review of the I will start with my final addresses. So, writing is something that you need to take yourself away from the noise. Find a quiet place and articulate your thoughts. So when I'm writing my addresses, I will wait till everybody has left. And a lot of times I will be in that office till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I will repeat it the next day. And I will repeat it that way until I finish. I'm not saying that, especially for the married women, that is how you go about it. Because for the married women, what's problem for you? Even as for the men, one of those times that I was writing, my wife came to the office. Yeah, last night we gave my will. And we just one gave number 4 years. So I came to keep it on. Okay. I know what happened next. That's it. Now because she's sleeping. Now, there's something to consider in advocacy. The appearance of the lawyer. Because sometimes when people look at you, you don't get the vibes of someone who is intelligent or put together. Rather than listen to you, they are looking at I have holes in the shoes. How did Manuel get on his feet? I insist. And so you're saying very important things. Yes, you like to see cockroaches will come out. So, like always emphasize this. Lawyers must always press. Don't go to court wearing clothes that are extremely tight. Don't go to court wearing clothes that are extremely loose. Follow the tweet to all of I remember Professor who told one of my classmates instead of sewing the suit, so I can't be family. I think you not to make up the person. I can tell you, but I'll be invited here again. Now, when we actually talk, as much as possible, we need to avoid that. Think of the legal issues. And then, one of the issues that I find very uncomfortable when I'm in that situation is when a judge gives a judgment, the lawyer will stand up in court and say, "My Lord, when will the ruling be ready? Because I want to appeal this judgment immediately." Yes, that's right. If you know the amount of effort that they put in, if they are wrong, must respect the facts. Yes, must respect that fact. And simply say, "Thank you. Very grateful for all the industry put in." And simply say that and sit down. Does that stop you from appealing? No. Doesn't. It stop you. In fact, I've been there when the judgment was given against me. I said, "Well, my Lord, going to very fair against him." And you know, I was saying this with all sincerity because I knew my client did not have a good case. I defended it the best I could. The judgment was given against him. I still commended the judge. I thanked him and complimented him for the clear-minded way he went about it. Just because the judgment is against you does not mean that it's bad. It was always appreciate that. Now, you know that the law for society has placed you above ordinary basic society. You are more or less an aristocrat because this profession was built in aristocracy. Why did we sometimes build ourselves and bring ourselves down? We are sometimes finding ourselves in places we're not supposed to be. Now, the client would always tell you that, "Come, let's have a drink. Come, let's do this. Come for this occasion." A client whose occasion is always attended The client that is always sharing a drink with you. The client that is always whining and dining with you. Will decide it sooner or later. Because he believes that if you are really working hard, you should not be dining and whining with him. You should not be found at the beer parlor. When I got in yesterday, I have so many good places, and my sister is here, my mother-in-law, and a whole lot of people. 99% of them don't know I'm around. So after this, I'll call them and apologize. But you know why? My first obligation is to you. I came here for this. So I simply walked into the hotel and sat down and started working on it. And that is the life of every lawyer. That should be the life of every serious lawyer. Now, advocacy is not about speaking well. It's about what are you presenting to the court. I see a lot of lawyers in the morning, which case is coming up today. It's like, oh. Okay, let's go. The shop becomes. My God. My coffee is not feeling well. And we all only the key to where the person is. But I had to go there yesterday. By the time I got back, I would like to get an appointment. If applying for adjournment was the same, I don't have to be about reading them. Because the way lawyers abuse it, and that's simply because we are just giving up files and going for it. So, to be a good advocate, you must prepare yourself way ahead. And then I'll end this by saying this. I'll give you a couple of things. Because I would like to speak on advocacy and the strategy of being a good advocate. When I became senior advocate, the very first case was someone who had been accused of raping a 2-year-old. So he comes into my office and says, look, my person, so can you
what should I do?
say, no, please, if you don't go, that judge is going to remand me. So he pushes, reluctantly, I decide to go. I get to court. And I make an application for bail because we are not happy. We don't know how this election if you remand him in jail, maybe it will be 6 months down the line if you have violence in the election. Before you will be able to see. The judge was extremely hostile. Shouted me down. Why? Is he better than others? He is accused of raping somebody. He was remanded. I applied for, fortunately, elections went well. So once we came sitting, almost the next year, I was still overseas. I sent my children. I took a bail application. Denied. People came to me and said, well, let's appeal. Let's I still why they don't do some appeal, when they don't do some appeal, when everything, the record of appeal. But you know what? How long will it take to determine that appeal? It will take a year. So when you do your cases, there's that aspect that from the strategy, cost benefit analysis, and what you intend to achieve. Every single action you take. Let's take one. Okay, that's aspect one. Aspect over 200. How do this? So I went to court. Okay, the prosecutor did not appear. So I didn't say it. But I made the judge realize that the prosecutor wasn't here. Went the second time. Prosecutor wasn't there. So I said, well, my lord, it seems that what the prosecution are after is just taking him that time. In fact, before that happened, once I saw that the investigation stopped, I went and prepared a motion. The second motion was failed because you are allowed to do that. Even after bail is denied the person. Oh, it would have money sheets. None of these news. Okay. We will start looking at cases around who has authority to grant land, who has this. That is where we will concentrate on our efforts. But if we distill the issues properly, anybody has any guess what we should be looking at? The right side. Yeah, so under what subject matter? On the allegation okay, excellent. So we are typically looking at breach of contract. A lot of times we will see that breach of contract. And I know lots of people like it. You know why it's breach of contract? In what he says, this is what I paid for. This is what you have given to me. So you have breached the terms of the contract I had with you. Because I am not bringing my action, because in this case, my acquisition of this title is not a grant. It's a purchase. Thank you. It's a purchase. So, just this exercise we have done has shown us how you distill issues. But first of all, I need for me to distill the issues properly. So now, one of the most difficult things I encountered, even if I did the address, was what issue do I come up with? And I ended up with a very simple issue. If a claimant purchased 4,700 square meters of land from the defendant, if you notice, there's no legal argument. It's just a simple question. If he buys the side of land from the defendant, then we went to the next one. If the actions of the defendants affect the rights of the claimant, and then I distill the third issue. Because when this land was excised, it was given to the third party who now has the statutory right of occupancy. So the third issue I came up, this one was only the right of the claimant over the land in issue having to invest in time, whether it supersedes that of the dead defendant. Now, the first thing you will do in writing this to final address is every address needs what? An introduction. And what's an introduction? Facts of the case. But a lot of people forget one thing. They give you the microphone to sing the way you want to sing. And you decide to write just narration. My introduction must tell the tale in a way that favors me, emphasizing the facts that are in my favor. So, that introduction is the facts of the matter. But I must tell it how it favors me. And I would say, even for the claimant, it is as a result of this speech that the claimant has come before you for relief. Then I move to the next bill, which is evaluation of evidence. Because I must project against the way it's been presented by every single individual that is involved. So I need to go in my pleadings. I don't need to reproduce my pleadings because I don't want to follow the judge. Because once the judge sees that you are just reproducing your pleadings, the judge will lose interest. Meanwhile, what you should be saying is, well, in this particular case, the claimant bought this man on social days. He was given this offer letter. The offer letter stated that this is the extent of his land. On the land, he had boundaries that indicated that this is what he should be looking at. The claimant got a surveyor to survey the land. And that survey plan was tendered and submitted to evidence. And he paid for this land and was in occupation. Some person has paid for this land, saying that they had been granted the land. That was when the claimant rushed to court. Now, I have finished with the claimant's case. This is just a brief analysis of the evidence. The claimant can testify in evidence and then the following documents evidence that were admitted and on list all the documents that were tendered. And in some cases where I need to emphasize, I will note that they were tendered without objection. I need the claimant's case. Says what I need to say there. I will go into the defendant's case. I will say my Lord, although they claim, the damage I'm doing them, although this is what they claim, this is what they brought to court. So they are saying that no, he's not entitled to this. But look at their evidence. This is what they stated in their pleadings. Under cross-examination, they say something different. In paragraph 10, they say that the land was surveyed before it was sold to the claimant. In paragraph 20, they said it was surveyed after he was sold to the claimant. How are we supposed to do? And at that point, I would tell my Lord to read the mental note of the fact that the pleadings were inconsistent. And so slowly I have started chipping away the case. That's very important. I would then say, I would look, these people claim that there's somebody in this land. They did not tender a single survey in evidence. So the only survey we have is that of the claimant. Then I'll go to the third defendant's case. I will start. I will look at the facts stated in their pleadings. I will look at their evidence, put that all together, and start attacking. And attacking and attacking and attacking. And I get to the end. So we got the case of, which is the narration of facts, weighing the evidence, all of that. And this is when you get the issue for determination. And if you notice in all of this, I have not cited one judicial authority. There's a mistake people make. They start writing with one authority, move to the next paragraph, another authority. They're not actually the facts. It's just law, law, law. I found myself in River State. Long ago, I needed to be in Ori. A portable printer as small as this laptop. And I needed to file and reply on point of. So that morning, we got familiar with Ori, take to Coca-Cola, then we take another trip. So that morning, I quickly prepared my file on point of. We didn't have all material then. So I simply looked at what they had stated. Okay. Pleadings not supported by evidence, evidence not supported by pleadings. I said all of that. I went to court. And the objection from the plaintiff solicitor, yes, counsel was that. He has filed a reply on points of law without a single authority. I wasn't wrong. The judge said, well, when your meetings are not supported by evidence, they go to no issue. But we all know that. He does that. Does he need to cite an authority? He doesn't. So sometimes the argument is just logical. Sometimes if you know the law, you don't really need to go and cite an authority for all. Just like saying a valid contract without consideration. Is that possible? We all know that. So, in all of this, I have gone with logic. I have gone to the issue for interpretation now. I will now distill the issues based on what the narration I engaged in my introduction, in my review of my evidence, in my review of the defendant's evidence. So, I show the examination is, did I buy land of 4,700 square meters? And then you go to arguments now. People have different sides. I'll give you a very simple side. My question is, if you came and buy land of 4,700 square meters, I would simply say something that is assertive, something in the positive. I submit that agreement got from the defendants land of 4,700 square meters. I put a full stop there. Have I not made a bold statement? That is my case before the court. And so I must lead it with all authority. And must make positive statements. And then in the next line, I will go on to say why. From the evidence, the pleadings and evidence adduced in this matter. Claimant has proven that what land of 4,700 square meters. What is referred to the supplement tendered and admitted as exhibit A. Yes, we have a very. My Lord is also enjoined to look at the fact that that is the only evidence of the size of that land before my Lord. Because at this stage, if there were other elements that would counteract my own evidence, what I should do is I should start attacking them at that point. And at this stage, I could cite legal authority In A versus B, it was held that there are various ways of putting title land. A, B, C. The claimant has revealed these conditions in A, B, C. And I will point to the evidence and point to my pleadings. I will point to any document and evidence. And I will proceed. The claimants, no, the defendants have failed to counter the evidence of the claimants. Looking at paragraph these that which they are relying on and which we had earlier pointed out were inconsistent. And by law, principles of law, these paragraphs are not supposed to stand. So we urge upon my Lord to strike out this paragraph. So there's nothing against mine. And I can then move to the conclusion, which is an analysis of what I have done before to make my prayer. So, from this analysis, it looks like I have done just one paragraph. Not so. It's not one paragraph. So, what I'm saying is, in every single paragraph that you write, start with a clear statement of what you want to argue in that paragraph. Support that statement either with a judicial authority or an argument. Apply that judicial authority to the facts of your matter and come to a conclusion that the law is on your side. We are going to, so for each issue, if we have 5 paragraphs, one issue, we are repeating each paragraph. It's not something you follow stage, but just giving you the structure. And we're done with this issue. We move to the next issue. It's the same thing. When we are arguing, if we have 5 issues, when we are arguing all these issues, get to our conclusion. Now, those conclusions, the writing of conclusion now should be having analyzed all of this. What conclusions should the court reach? The first one is this is an action A, breach of contract. And wait, sorry. Now, there are 2 things you could do. You know, the opposing counsel will have his arguments. So it's not as if you were given before, your opposing counsel will have his arguments. You could decide 2 things. You could respond to his arguments when you're arguing your issues. The problem with that sometimes is that you're distracting yourself and the judge from what the judge should be concentrating on. Because the judge should be concentrating on those things you want the judge to concentrate on. So what I simply do, if I'm the claimant, because I don't have the right of reply on points of law, when I finish arguing my issues, I'm concentrating on what I want to judge. Because I'm the claimant, concentrate on what I'm saying. I will then dedicate a separate section to reply to all the issues raised by the claimant's counsel. And I could say, well, he has argued that something man has no probative value because it wasn't produced by the government agency. Now look at the case of X versus A. In that case, it was held that for a survey man to be valid, it needs to have this feature. With all of this said by the Court of Appeal of the Supreme Court, there was no way that it was said that the survey map would be produced by government partners. So, my survey map is valid. Besides, if that was the case, why did they not come with the survey map? And since they don't have the survey map, mine prevails. Once I finish that section of replying to what the defendants has last said, I then go to my conclusion. This is also the opportunity I have to highlight all the issues in life. Line by line, by line, by line. And then, after that, I make a general prayer. And my general prayer would be that the court should uphold my claim as it has been proven and give judgment in my favor. And I'm done. You can see, once you have a structure, it becomes easier. And I will conclude by, I hope the debaters so I have mentioned so I want to conclude with this judgment that I told you about that generating a lot of interest. It's on the internet. You can search for it and go through it. And that is the judgment. Okay. So this was a judgment written by a English judge. I'll just go through, I'll spend less than 2 minutes going through this. So if you look at the structure of this judgment, we have introduction, and then you have respondent's case. Then you have the oral evidence. That is in, you have a Husseini's evidence. So then you see witness statements, defense. There's the life of the evidence, oral evidence. So here, for instance, when you are writing, you need to highlight certain aspects of the case that will make the case in your favor. So, for instance, you see the highlighted part. I owned it. I bought the property before I gave it to someone to own. I paid the deposit, then bid my case. I bought it. It's my property. Now, why this is highlighted is because this forms an important basis for the decision. So when you're also writing, highlight those aspects of the case that you want the judge to consider. And here, non-appearance of the applicant was very crucial. So highlighting certain aspects of the things and that you want the judge. So in this case, the applicant let me appear this. That was important. So you can always say that in this case, allocate those of the contract. This is what happened. So, let me go. So, you see about those evidence of maybe here we say PW1, all of that. So, interestingly, this is the judgment. And we are finding photographs in the judgment. So this the judge incorporated the evidence received in court. This happens to be my favorite because you can see at the shop one day through walk a new house. So it comes to a decision that these documents were false. The judge had to put side by side. This is the first document that was produced. You know here, that is the main. This is the second document. See the color of the clouds is different. It's still the same picture. Then you can see another picture here. Yeah. So this is Nigerians at work. And then my favorite. You can see there the shop. It's the same thing there with the shop. So the thing of appearing with the case. This lady was supposed to appear to testify. So the day she was supposed to testify, the president said she went for a surgery. And she couldn't testify. At this point, they didn't say testify. Testify is going to be a question. As long as she was in for the surgery. So the next time they said, where is the lady? You must bring that lady to testify. They said she had died. So they created this obituary for her. So they then asked, okay, where are the pictures of the burial? The photographer said that, no, the lawyer said that the photographer who took the pictures died. That's why you like all of this. And so you see, now, please listen carefully, but this part is very, very important. Someone said or asked about related issues for examination. These are the issues that the judge formulated. Should the applicant's case be stronger, or and even if it is, should I direct the chief land registrar give effect to the respondent's application registered to answer? So this is for those people who are writing all the time. How do I formulate these issues to sound like very intelligent, like this is an English word formulation issue for you. Yes, it's a direct question. Should the applicant's case be stronger? Or should I direct the land registrar? And this is how he proceeds. He then cites the law, and in this case, it's not a judicial authority. He just cites the law regulating the proceedings. And then in paragraph 117, he refers to judicial authorities. And it's the judicial authorities in Silverstone and Patna. And there is a statement from And why does he cite this authority? These are the authorities that have laid out the principles guiding these procedures. And so he goes on to give his explanation applying simple logic, because you need to apply simple logic to the facts of the case before you then apply the law. And in some cases, you may not even need to cite authorities. But you look at all of this, I keep going. Notice the cases are always in this. But you can't say any case. It's not fully much. So, in the end, so don't always repeat yourself off that you need to be sound extremely intelligent. You first of all need to produce something before you start trying to sound very intelligent. Right? So all I'm saying is this. Thank you very much for your time. And the before you only the vision. Thank you very much. Thank you so grateful. Let me begin by thanking every one of you for your experience. And I saw a couple of you because of the network whose eyes are failing you. Because it was very profusely our guest lecture. We are not done. The chairman has informed you, and there will be something after now. Let that be another proposition for you to wait. Demonstrated evidence competence. Evidence evolution. And that is degree was territorial event. Like I said, that we really want by this man is well. We inside from number one, recognizing us. You know, that was leverage on the work of experience of two people here. The first is about doing the SCN. He asked you to make a great intervention. The second, where has what the hell about? I guess I'll be learning. After that, we take about 2 or 3 questions before you meet again. Guest lecturer, once again, we are very grateful to you. We enjoyed your presentation that we the end. So it's a demonstration of the fact that the cloud was very, very please, once again, a round of applause for our on that note, I don't believe the requirement of new SAN on the short intervention. I told you, it's only to grant that.
5 minutes, maximum. 5 minutes, maximum. Otherwise, we think we have. We cannot do that. Not very much, but those of people like everybody. Chairman, I don't get people.
You, so, well, once we start with the, we have been sitting down for a long time. And we write as straight. Oh. Okay. So, the man is sitting. You chairman of the training program. Let me appreciate each and every one of those who is present. So, we don't want to be in vain. Everyone has taken something good. Everybody is taking something good. We shall have discussion to witness. The state lecturer of the trainer. Teacher. All of them combined. Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate the fact that we could explain what the time and the success here. Guide us, and direct our mind to settling on mental health related to commendable chairman, members who are making this program possible. The chairman of the committee, so they come, they are done, they come, those who were training. So everybody is training. Look at the lawyer and the legal person. And the legal person is not legal. Because so long as you are alive, then as long as you are alive, you are still in school. So I don't intend that we will take you over a long time. If we can, there are many things to say. Many things we just let over and make our mind. Of special preparation is learned magistrates who have made time here to participate in this program. The leadership registrar as the school. The leadership registrar with magistrates all the legislature. Thank you. We try not. The thing because it has changed. So many of you will take something. Okay. Let me understand. I have few things to say. How cross it out. This start first. The point we get second. Be a good person. Be a good lawyer. And also a good judge. Whichever one you find yourself. And see myself. So when I talk, I'm not offended. When I talk, I'm visuals, but I will try not to make it too broad so that I give you an example some time ago. Most of you know how close I was to the former chief judge of first class.
Because he said, yeah, I'm giving this first. I will stop this question. To carry the mind of our mothers people who would walk in line with the profession, be on the side of the profession. As close as we were, the majesty here, the same year of the call because in the whole of the spirit. Same year of God because the whole of the spirit. It's in terms of the Lord, you can say, He is up there. We are here before Him as a majesty. He sits down there, take his submissions, and write his ruling for judgment, side authorities, and proceedings. This is a poor and I made a long time. And he asked me, where is he? I said, he's still at the exam. Nothing can be done. And when I met the chief judge, I said, my Lord, I have been betrayed with this man deserves to be made a judge. I have been stopped here for years. So what is, because they have my they have my experience for me. They have came out of it. I said, I'm here. It's okay. Come to my office. I'm waiting. You've been questioning me about this man being made a judge. All the same. I said, come read the files. Well, maybe files like this, very sure of them. I said, well, you can make use of the chief judge's conference, or you can make use of it. Don't do this. You go to them. But I won't allow you to go on. The files with the chief judge's conference. Okay. I'm 1.5 hours. Finished. I came back with the chief judge. He said, back, don't have to do that. Be the first person to write a recommendation for him to be appointed a judge. Be the first person to write a recommendation for him to be appointed a judge. With what you have gone through. Say, my Lord, he said, you sure you will not even go through the same, not even 1/10, my God. So we put was that time going through? I've always said one thing. Do your work and behave in a way that when the person does not like you will not say that against you. Because whatever it is, at each time a decision is going to be taken without bias, than any person. You will never be there. It's others who will take that decision. Others who will take that decision. The ambition also are not behaving in a way you should speak in their favor. Be on the side and do what is. It was not pay not to do the correct, but it pays everything. And it's rewarding to do the correct thing. It pays everything, and it is rewarding to do the correct thing. If you follow government officials who will destroy you, it will not be there tomorrow to suspend you. It will go with them. State government officials who will use impunity to destroy you, to make others to send people to prison without a case file. Without a charge. There is no case. They call you to the offices and to write orders there and put people in prison. Those people's prayer will be against you. And when people don't make progress, they start thinking why they are not making progress. You don't go further. I don't want to offend anyone. And I told you not to reach up and to speak so that I don't offend people. Some of them are putting their, they don't want to look at my face, they are putting down their face. Go to the world that my elder brother son, was very clear. Talk of the value of it. There are many of us have said this over and over, but when I meet individual persons, I can chat with them. Is he here? Okay, that's good. I did my new service today. I come there. So that kind of thing. They will say, we are not going to continue there. Possibly took me there. This is saying, took me to a good address. And the sky is going to Canada. He said, that time there was no country. Only two land transportation. We were at Manchester. So when I came here, there were a lot of case files. He said, but now I came to take money to go to pay for the office for accommodation. So he has called on the Sami to bring some price of Scala. He went together. They first was involved for people to go. So he said, I should go and get ready. We can't go, we are out of the So I came back to the evening to get money to never make money. Now that stood up from his seat and said to himself, she's back. He got out the back. Where the money was. That money is huge. And then he asked me, said, is it one of the people who were in the second and our place? I don't know. That money is huge. And he said one thing that I used to tell most of us. He said, but you know that things the hand of the devil to save money in the use of poverty. I come and tell you, I will stay up to 4 days without my mind is in the hospital. How to protect? There's no money. This one is sick. Protect. And then we'll keep that money here. At the end of the day, if the one dies, some conscience will be so good. And if you have stolen that money, the woman will have survived. So, the young called me saying, there's no practice in Abuja. And you are the litigation lawyer. She was like the understanding to take it. Understanding from the stage. You know what? You don't know the practice now. Any politics. Stay here. We need an answer. It's okay, my God. It's no problem. So, when I put you, I don't feel the child of computers, we are about 4. Then later, you need to join us. About 4 or 5 of us. No, the briefs. I give you a few briefs. You don't see the client that. I will be there writing briefs. Yeah, there's so many briefs to all the briefs, right? I wanted to come and say the brief. Anyway, we tell the doctors, the writing briefs. Many people thought, and I walk. I will be what I did. In no distant time, I How an example of those case files were empty and they were not litigated. When I was appeared because of this, I was almost happy with that's it out. People I used to call me Arnold. It was always with the head. It was hardly a week. They will not have up to 10 to 15 cases there. So they started inviting me. But what are you looking for in a profession? You must either aspire to be in the profession. Go to here and back. You know what? It was 2002. My notes. Was because I finished my notes I wanted to do. Those was decided. Then the woman is complaining. We want to see when something wrong. That's when the feeling they said they are they were all in the PJ's office. Those were you see, then we want to find out. We want to this year for recommendation for the case. In terms of the 10 years, when we look on, we think of the same. I did not know the two notes of it. Following year about the same time, it came the same thing. And when people in general sit with them, say down, he said, I'm not going to 10 years push from. Say, my daughter, say, that you they will not see your name. The physics did my daylights. And passion was very obvious. All the chief registrar here, chief registrar, well, there's nothing you have come up in matters. And I said, but we have no. The office from where I come from, we don't need to go cases. All we need is to do the work that I have quite a number of them at the Supreme Court. Once they do step out, and this is to let you know that you know what when judges decide what to take interest in you. They will be like guiding you, be like guiding you. So, to speak to the value of those cases, to maintain those cases have value. When I went to my first interview for essay, 2003, they needed 10 cases of court. I got 56. One of the judges in the panel asked me, let 10 cases of you. And I said, I did not even give all the cases because of the time. But I have very more. Those were those cases that were of no value. Another point I want to make, which I emphasize. And Dr. Ekani literate on it. In fact, some of the occasions you don't need it. Some of those files were given to other people, and they go through to say, when we throw them, people felt they were throwing a stone. Me. No, they were contacts, they were going. They were valuing them. If you sit here and think you will make clients who will be able to take you to Abuja, who matters Supreme Court, every point. You cannot find up to 5 of them. You must use your money to go to Abuja. Even if you use sex, even if you use rape, take a lot from you. At the end of the day, it is always the one. And it is always revealing. I had the occasion to confront a number of lawyers, planning to do some justice. When I start my state case for also try to look at lawyers who have done it. I find out that lawyer has done a case at the High Court, some from the magistrate. Then when it gets to the Supreme Court, you know how long it will take you to have a case, and you will have the opportunity to have it not like setting your red points. But the key note telling you another person what it is. So that's to mention one statement about the vision with the bench. You must first know what you are looking for. And you must know what are the requirements for that thing you are looking for. What can you expect? What and what does it take? When you have known the requirements, then you start working towards them. Once you are qualified, personal assessment, self-assessment, you will know that you are qualified. When I was qualified, I knew I was qualified. And I approached some of our elder brothers. They felt I was fun. Some just said, no, man, he died. One of those I mentioned big names here. I have no patience. One has not gotten it. This one has not gotten it. One has gotten it. Someone got it. I stood up. When I bought my phone, my Lord, where's this phone? No one will speak for me on the point of disadvantage. How the requirement. So when you are qualified, you will know that. And it becomes easier for one to assist you. So let me make this point. Only because of what some of us pass. When myself, Awo, and Namos, a candidate, got there, we made one path. Which by the grace of God, we have kept. What is that? When we said it public, we said there will be nobody from possible, having possible on the other side. There will be nobody from possible who will go for interviews the one more than once. Will suffer what we suffer. And we have always done it. So I said that there are so many things to say, opportunity for us to come back today. And that is what's fine. Yes, our relationship. And the thing is chaos. The relate here is not easy. I think the example we have recently, and it also goes to behavior and character. As our colleague here, that is what I do. Go to the marriage people, you keep down on it. Good to them. It comes to recommendation because now you meet their recommendation. Is that also? The cases we did was that recommendation that we keep those cases before those judges. It happened. So they can continue. No petition against that judge. You know what to do. No problem. I took my phone and called the judge. This is the problem of this our brother. Say, black, say, not by. Doesn't even need to come here. You need to be on the question. You send my recommendation. But he was uneasy to approach the judge. Why? It is not necessary. It is not necessary. Sometimes when the defendant was sitting, he said something to the lawyers. Lawyer stood up and started boasting how you go and do and that, which is not necessary. You have to press that open to say, and I think this data. Lawyer came from there that there was a mountain. Said, man, the defendant was praising you. Said, how? The lawyer stood up after I was ready and started this. The defendant told him and said, well, I don't think you have the capacity to go and do. God, that's how when what you will do. People stand up and praise you, thank you. Then you are trying to do this for you. 2 months after he has brought a judgment to you, pastor, ask people you that have a judgment and say, the person who will do something. It's not you who stood there acting. People will respect you. Will respect you. You don't need, because you are not just belittling your friend. You are belittling the entire profession. It's not necessary. You already have a procedure you should adopt in doing that. You don't need it. If there is any judge that we have had a lot of confrontation, it's my friend. Just to say that. But at the end of the day, we became best of friends. Best of friends. I have hardly got a case before the defendant that he did not move against me. Hardly. Now, why even can't you? One of them actually said, man, because the justices of the family called contact and said that he was too rude at me. He said he must apologize for me in judgment. Put it in your judgment. And he must apologize for me. And I said, sorry, I said, man, must bring me to enforce this judgment. So thank you so much.
I see a God helps you. But I guess we are being encouraged, and I won't say I will stand here so that Dr. Paul will never stand in please don't contradict. Stand right by. And even your former chairman of FB, just like I say, don't forget to have back about vibes.
Thank you very much. I'm still at all of you in my father. Please, you have to let me cover that. I thank you very much. I just the leadership of the branch, what they are doing. I think that wasted the time there, show me that you gained so much. I have gained so much. And the one problem I talked about we have is thinking that we know it all. That has been our major story. And you have that disposition, you are like a stunted growth. I think that's exactly what it is. Because the reason for stunted growth is lack of, as we say, you don't take a lot of nutrients, a lot of water. So, like you talked about, if you don't open your head for development, you'll remain there. I think that is what I appreciate you. I want to appreciate you, let it say. He did tell you that my officer when I was Northern person. Also, yes, also. I changed it to Lawson. That history nobody will know. This Lawson you have now, I changed to Lawson. So he was a great officer. People, this is a that way. You have done a no man's job. You did it so well, so engaging that contrary to medical once you sit for 2 hours, that's some of us last year, we saw the rush for the convenience after you finish your the business before they did it. So I mean, thank you very much. And thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. I forgot you clear. The city police is a very important. All these things like hearing. Let me just leave my chairman. The constituent chairman.
My is first time, I love the word chief judge. You know, when you come to it was the place to get one of my separate and simply that a long time. I said, what do we do? And I reached out to my chief judge. And without any explanation, she granted a 3-day today so that we can all come here to the case. I also thought it was one of the engagements with her. She had said she wanted my wife of the magistrate before this training, so we sent her an invitation to her. And of course, she immediately granted the request. So that speaks to the relationship that's most exists between the eye and all times. One of the mutual respect, one of points, because we are able to assist each other towards the end of justice. And I thank the Lord magistrate from the Central Chief Registrar, the Lord Chief Registrars, all magistrates. Yes, we look forward to further collaboration. I think that in the future we'll be able to organize more programs like this. Thank my colleagues, thank Professor Bada and his committee that work tirelessly to ensure that we have. Thank you all. I wish you all happy.
Mr. Chairman, and finally, let me have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Anne Aki, the deputy behind success of if both of that. I wanted to say Dr. And let Dr. Anne and after that, invite very something. But after the benevolent talk, thank you.
It's honor to be here, and I thank everybody who has signed up for this training. And I thank our guests for coming. I can't say thank you enough, sir, for turning your entire life practically, and then here you are with us. Thank you very much. Like Oliver Twist, to be coming here. The next week, we are also very grateful for the people to give to us. And US Prof, thank you for coming. I'd like to say at the purpose that we can never do any wrong. I don't want to say about Professor Dada and they are not afraid they lie. They did not do it. I can vouch for them. Thank you very much. So, all questions came. Without any further ado, we'll start with the senior advocates and then the magistrate to follow, and then there will be coordination group by group. Thank you very much.
In Jesus' name, we are thankful and God will be praised and give to us whatever we the Lord pray, the Lord will apply. Please go do and also us in Jesus' name. Now, look at the being, Lord will pray and mighty name. And so shall it be in Jesus' name.
Please let's do, pray for tonight.